Dino Crisis 2 is the Resident Evil 4 of the Dino Crisis franchise. Well, it's not really much of a franchise, there's not that many games in this series, but going from Dino Crisis 1, which was basically survival horror, to this completely action game was an odd choice to say the least. Dino Crisis 1 could come across as just Resident Evil with dinosaurs, but I think that's oversimplifying all of the great improvements that Dino Crisis brought to the Resident Evil formula. Dino Crisis had amazing puzzles, full 3D environments, and they improved upon their enemy AI, making the dinosaurs in Dino Crisis the most intelligent enemies they had created at the time. To me, Dino Crisis took the basics of the Resident Evil formula that Capcom had been working on for so many years to its peak. I really don't see how Capcom could have went any further, but what I wasn't expecting was a complete 180 into something that was nothing like the original game. But before we continue, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the hype button. I'm showing you where that is right now on the screen. I'm very blessed and thankful for each and every one of you for stopping by my channel. You could be watching anyone in the world, but you decided to watch little old me, and I'm very thankful. Jehovah God and Jesus has blessed me so much, and one of those many blessings is me being able to sit here and talk about video games with you guys. I hope you all are having a blessed day and enjoying your winter. Now let's get back into the review. Dino Crisis 2 goes completely, and I mean completely, just straight up combat. This game is so focused on combat that if you blink, you'll miss the puzzles, and you might even miss the story, which is actually pretty solid. Since the focus is on combat, we might as well start there because that's the bulk of what this game is. Dino Crisis 2 still uses fixed camera angles and tank controls. Now, Resident Evil has never been known for its combat when it comes to classic Resident Evil games. And seeing as Dino Crisis basically runs off of that same engine and formula, how could they have possibly made a competent action adventure shooter game with this very limited system? The answer to that question is actually surprising. I'm not going to sit here and over exaggerate and say that Dino Crisis 2 is one of the best action shooter games out there, but what I will say is to take a system that was clearly not designed to be combat focused and make it fun, challenging, and have a level of strategy to it is impressive. Aiming is still automatic, so there is no challenge in actually hitting your target. All you need to do is just press the aim button and your character will lock onto them. Locking on the enemies isn't perfect, as there were a few times where I wanted to lock onto one dinosaur that was about to attack me, but the game decided to lock onto a dinosaur that was closest near me. I get the logic behind that, but sometimes the one closest near me isn't the one I want to hit, and the game's gravitational lock on can cause a bit of confusion at times. See, when you lock on as normal, the character could just turn around to any enemy that's near them. And if you let go of the lock on, you can quickly switch between targets. But there's actually a dedicated target switching button as well. But honestly, there are times where it feels like just letting go of the lock on button works better than just using the target switching button. Ultimately, this issue won't really get you killed, as Dino Crisis 2 is a very easy game, which we'll go over later. But if you're someone that wants to go for high scores, it can be a combo killer if you get attacked. The depth of Dino Crisis 2's combat isn't in aiming, like I said. It's actually tied to dodging, positioning, choosing the right weapon for the right job, and knowing when to cut and run. Dino Crisis 2 has a combo meter. Every time you kill a dinosaur, the combo meter goes up, and you get bonus points for taking no damage. You don't actually have to kill every dinosaur that you see. You can actually run past most of them, and the game kind of encourages you to do so. Thank Jehovah God for pointing that out to me, because I was losing a lot of extra points on the table by trying to fight every dinosaur I saw. Dinosaurs will actually spawn behind you as well. Now this is a small strategy that Jehovah pointed out to me. When dinosaurs spawn behind you, you have enough time to run forward to create space between you and the dinosaurs, which you're going to need because dinosaurs can pounce on you in a blink of an eye. The cool thing is, if you shoot a dinosaur right before it attacks you, you actually pull off a counter attack, which could give you more points. And you're going to need these points because you need these points to buy ammo, to increase your ammo count, to buy healing items, and to buy more guns. And you're going to want to buy more guns in Dino Crisis 2 because buying guns in this game actually opens you up to killing dinosaurs more efficiently. In a Resident Evil game, you can use any gun you want to take out any enemy you want to. Now, of course, if you save your more powerful weapons for bosses and harder enemies, it will fare better for you. Dino Crisis 2 isn't really like that. There are some weapons that are just clearly designed to fight off one type of enemy than the other. Sure, you can kill any dinosaur you want with any gun you want, but if you don't use the right gun for the right job, you're going to be wasting a lot of ammo, and this is where the extra depth of Dino Crisis 2's combat comes in. Because this game is missing so many of the other elements that a Resident Evil style game would have, they emphasize on using the right gun for the right job in order to give the player some type of strategy or something to think about other than just aiming and shooting. You have your main weapons and your sub weapons. Now, your main weapons are going to do most of your damage, but don't make the same mistake I did and ignore the sub weapons. These things are very powerful, especially against certain dinosaurs. There was a minor escort mission where I lost because the character I was looking after died. But Jehovah God reminded me of a sub weapon that builds up a firewall, which not only protected the character but did damage over time. There are these dinosaurs that basically take no damage unless you shoot them in their bellies, and you need to use this explosive round in order to flip them over. There are also weapons that are mainly used for certain sections in the game, like the flamethrower. You could keep using it beyond it, but it's really meant for this poison section that was actually pretty fun, even though all you're doing is just shooting at spores. And this game doesn't use like a rock, paper, scissors system. There isn't like one solution for one problem. For example, the pterodactyls, there are Uzis that you can have, dual wielding Uzis that, yes, you could shoot both of them at the same time, which kind of takes from Cole Veronica's mechanic of aiming at two separate enemies at once. And although these came in handy and were great, once I got a more powerful gun, I used that one instead because it killed the pterodactyls quicker. But that doesn't make the Uzis obsolete because there were still dinosaurs that worked better with the Uzis compared to the heavy machine gun. So when it comes to gun feel and gun selection, they actually did a really good job here. And when you combine that with the fact that the better you do at the game, the more points you get to buy more guns and ammo to survive, it actually feeds into a nice loop for the player to get good at the game naturally. Because like I said, the game is pretty easy. Even if you take a lot of damage, you'll have enough points to buy tons of med kits in this game. And there's even ways to revive after a death without having to go to the main menu. So Dino Crisis 2's drive to get good isn't from dying constantly and just being annoyed by death. It's actually from a natural state of just wanting to improve at the game. And because this game is so freaking short, you can easily run through Dino Crisis 2 within an hour as long as you're skipping all the cutscenes and remember exactly where to go and have a blast just improving your personal skills at this game. Now, one part of combat I thought was a little lacking was the dodge mechanic. The dodge mechanic in this game is actually something you fully control, unlike Resident Evil 3. But in some ways, I kind of wish it was like Resident Evil 3's dodge mechanic, because you could kind of forget that it's in the game. A lot of the times when you're fighting these dinosaurs, because you're still dealing with tank controls and these dinosaurs are pretty fast, a lot of times you're going to be thinking about just running away, not so much pausing to then dodge left or right. Now, dodging backwards to make space, that makes sense. And another thing that you should remember in this game is that you can actually move forward and backwards in Dino Crisis. Instead of aiming up and down when you shoot, you can walk forward, move backwards, and that's actually very useful to use. But when it comes to dodging itself, I feel like that could have been worked on. It's not going to ruin your experience. It's something that I'm sure that people who master the game have gotten used to. But for me, I just felt the delay between the dodge was so big that it made me not want to use it. Going back to Dino Crisis 2's length, because it's so short, they actually did a good job of making sure this game stayed entertaining throughout. In the beginning of the game, it's sort of a mystery. You're going through the jungle trying to figure out where to go, and there's light, and I mean very light, puzzle elements in this game. Each of them have their own melee weapon which serves as a key. Dylan has a machete and Regina has this electrical wand that she can use. Now there's only like a few puzzles that are specific to each character, and this game is built where you swap between the characters depending upon where you are in the story. You don't choose who you play as. So you're never going to be in a situation where you don't have the right tool for the job. It kind of does suck that Dino Crisis 2 doesn't have really any puzzles in this game. Now, there are a few like whack-a-mole puzzles with Regina, and there are some puzzles where you need to just find an item and type in the right code. Puzzle solving in this game is so minute that there were times where all I need to do was read a log. But I didn't even think to do that because this game is so combat and action focused that the brief moments they asked me to solve a puzzle, I actually had to pray to God to actually tell me what to do, because I'm so used to just shooting dinosaurs at this point that I just kind of forgot how to even problem solve. Now, going from screen to screen isn't all that you're doing. Dino Crisis 2 actually made the wise decision of making set pieces in this game. There are these turret sections that are really fun in this game, and I'm actually surprised how good they are, because you got to remember, I'm using an analog stick or the D-pad to aim the cursor. I'm not using a mouse or even a light gun, and it still worked pretty well. A lot of times in games where they add like turret sections, they're just there to break up the combat that you're already doing with more combat, but they actually made these a challenge. There was another segment in this game where Regina and Dylan could use this mortar shot to rain down missiles on these T-Rexes, and I thought this was a pretty good way of mixing up the gameplay, as you're still doing the core, just shooting at the T-Rexes if you want to, or you can wait around to shoot these mortars to do significantly more damage, and it looks pretty cool. Regina breaks up her gameplay with an underwater adventure, which doesn't completely change what you're doing. You're still shooting dinosaurs and trying to get to the goal, but thanks to the underwater physics that makes everything feel slow motion, the brand new jump button that adds platforming to the underwater segments, and because we have those slow motion physics, the platforming underwater actually works pretty well. Then you have new weapons, these very fast swimming enemies, and a cool new boss fight that mixes in the platforming that's introduced in this segment. It almost feels like Regina got some of the best moments in this game because she has another boss fight where she has to fight a giant T-Rex, and the whole gimmick of this fight is to turn on these flamethrowers to do damage to it. Dylan got most of the turn segments, but he does have a few moments that stood out to me, like the escort mission. He could drive a freaking tank, which I wasn't expecting at all. And the last boss for him ends in such an epic fashion, all I could do is just show it to you. Now, as far as story goes, Dino Crisis 2 isn't going to win any awards, but I will say this. Dino Crisis 2 should be studied. Dino Crisis 2 was able to make a compelling, fun story that didn't drown the player in a bunch of unnecessary information. They had a bit of mystery here, and it was so well done that I wanted to see what happened next in Dino Crisis 3. There are only like 4 main characters in this game, and one of them actually dies, and even though this character was barely on the screen, their voice acting and how they behaved was so good that when they did die, I was shocked and surprised by it and actually felt a little bit sad that this character was gone. Rest in peace, David. Your sacrifice won't be forgotten. It was so nice to be able to play a game with a nice story that just got me in and out, straight through, just bullet point after bullet point, give me everything that matters, nothing else, and let me just experience the key points of a good story. And in all honesty, it actually works perfectly fine for Dino Crisis 2 because you gotta imagine you're in a world where the dinosaurs are taking over and they're just killing everybody. There's not a lot of time to explain a bunch of stuff. So the writer's making a story where it just gets its point across and leaving a cliffhanger. I'm talking about the craziest cliffhanger I've seen in a while in the game. So good that I wanna see what happens next in Dino Crisis 3. Yeah, they did a really good job with the story. I don't even wanna spoil what happens at the end of the game. That's how good it is. Dino Crisis 2 being a game from Capcom in this era, that means that there are going to be extra unlockables at the end. Now, it's not as many as I would have thought, seeing as how short this game is, but you got a couple things you can mess around with once you beat the game. You have like a horde mode where you could just fight a bunch of dinosaurs, and you can even play as the tank again if you want to. This mode is pretty fun, and you can even go for a high score, but the camera does this weird thing. I don't know if this is because it's the PC version or this is just how it functions, but it's a little trippy. You can also get infinite ammo and just play the game again as much as you want. There's also another mode where you can fight 2 dinosaurs against each other. I haven't unlocked this yet, but I do see where you can get the new dinosaurs for that mode, so that'll be something I'll talk about later. And surprisingly, there aren't any extra costumes, which kind of sucks. Like, this type of game would benefit the most for having extra costumes. Like a game you could just pick up and play for a few hours and be done with it. Being able to switch out how your character looks would have been nice. And Regina actually changes outfits in this game, and I don't think they ever pointed out why she does that. But it is what it is. There are no extra costumes, but thankfully, because I'm playing on PC, technically I could mod in some, but we can't count that towards the game or anything. Dino Crisis 2, although it is nothing that I wanted coming off of Dino Crisis 1, I kind of wanted more of that. Dino Crisis 2 is the Resident Evil 4 of the Dino Crisis series, because this game made Dino Crisis into a completely action-based game and did it so well that I wasn't even mad at the shift. I still think they could have somehow kept what the original Dino Crisis did and still made Dino Crisis 2 an action-based game. Like, imagine if there were just segments in this game where you were locked down in a building and it played more like Dino Crisis 1 where you're solving advanced puzzles and you didn't have that much ammo. But then you had moments in the game that were just straight up action and it played just like Dino Crisis 2. I could see both things existing at once. And the funny thing is that later Resident Evil games eventually started to do this. In fact, supposedly RE9 is going to do this exact same thing where when you play as Leon, the game is going to be more about its action, and when you play as Grace, it's going to be more survival horror. But you can't turn back the tables of time. It is what it is. This is what Dino Crisis 2 became, and I have to say it is a solid game. I actually think Dino Crisis 2 would do well on Switch 2, like if they ported this game to Switch 2 one day, or just any portable device, because this game is so short, it almost felt like it was built to be played on the go. So overall, I enjoyed Dino Crisis 2. A little bit disappointed that it's not a continuation of the excellency that was Dino Crisis 1, but for what it is, it's a solid lock-on shooter made for the PlayStation era, and it just shows you how great Capcom was at taking ideas they already had and twisting them on their heads so many times to the point that you think they can't possibly do anything else with them, and then just proving you wrong in the end. But what did you think about Dino Crisis 2? Please let me know in the comment section below. Please don't forget, if you made it this far, to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the hype button. Again, I'm very grateful and blessed for each and every one of you for stopping by, because like I always say, you can watch anyone, but you decided to check out this video right here. I still have Dino Crisis 3 to go through, and there's apparently a Dino Crisis that came out on the PS2 that's a light gun shooter, but I'll have to see what that's all about. Again, peace out, Key Gaming. God bless. Please stay safe and warm this winter, and I hope you guys are having a blessed day. Peace.